Tell me, who can control the flood? No one. Where are the angels? Nowhere. Where's the honesty? Nowhere. Where's the compassion? Nowhere. Who knows the truth? No one.
Okay, here's a story we're going to see more and more and more of every day as more and more criminal justice reform takes its place in places like Philadelphia, St. Louis, Chicago, Boston, where they're bragging about the fact there are too many black people in prison for no reason whatsoever, and we cannot criminalize poverty. So when one of these angels comes into our court, we have to let them out without bail. It's no big deal, is it? After all, they're not really the predators, they're the victims. Okay, so check this out down in Tupelo, Mississippi, or near Tupelo, Verona, Mississippi. This dude you're looking at right here, he shot somebody, killed somebody last spring, 2018. He walks out of jail on a signature bond on a murder charge. A couple months later, he's back in there. He shoots somebody else. They didn't die. He walks out of court on a bond. Put up a couple $1,000s cash. Walks out. Now he's back in again. A couple weeks ago, he killed one more person. Let's take a listen to that story. But then, let's take a look at this sheriff trying to explain why this dude is out. It's not really the sheriff's thing. It's because the sheriff just kind of, he's like the hotel keeper. He doesn't really control who goes in and out of the hotel. He just follows the paperwork. But the sheriff's pointing the finger right at the chief of police of Verona, where he was arrested, who let this kid walk out the jail for free.
Latavius Betts is wanted in the deadly shooting of an elderly woman that happened last week in the Palmetto community.
We want the general public to know that the individual that did the shooting and the individual that was shot were acquaintances. They knew each other.
The motive behind the shooting that left 3 others injured is still being investigated. We know Betts was out on bond at the time of the shooting and was previously charged in another drive-by shooting, this one happening in Verona at a car wash back in April. Verona Chief J.B. Long tells me that the suspect was involved in a shooting at a Chevron gas station as well.
You know, you've allowed a 17-year-old to make bond hoping that he'll show back up on a murder charge. That now, not only has he committed another one, but we're looking for him again.
All right, there has been numerous questions that has been posed to us about why Mr. Betts was out on bond and was able to be free in the free world when this act in Palmetto was committed. And, you know, the easiest way to do it is just clear up exactly what I know about this particular individual and why he was out. First of all, when an individual is charged with a felony charge in any municipality in Lee County, then that individual is charged under the felony statute of whatever the felony crime is. The next process that happens within a few days is they have to be taken before a justice court judge or a circuit judge or the county judge, and they have to go through what they call an initial appearance. That's when an individual rights are read to them. They let the court know what attorney is going to be representing them. They know about their charges, and that's at that particular time the judge sets a bond for those charges. The next thing that happens is they remain incarcerated until some type of bond is posted, and that's what normal protocol is on each and every case. On this particular case, what I can tell you is that in April of this year, Mr. Betts committed a felony act in Verona that warranted the Verona Police Department to charge him with the felony crime of murder, where he took the life of an individual, and that is when he was charged with the felony crime of murder. I can tell you that at that point, the individual was brought to our facility. Once the individual was here in our facility, then the next thing that happened was the police chief arranged for an initial appearance to be held without a judge. We have the documentation where there was a bond set of $50,000 for this murder charge, but it was never approved by a judge. It was apparently approved by the police chief. The next thing that happens was Mr. Betts was allowed to sign a waiver of initial where he did not go before a judge. As we can show documentation, there is also a line on a waiver of an initial where a judge has to approve that, and there is no signature on it. So this was done without a judge's permission. The third and final concerning thing about this was where this particular individual that was charged with murder was allowed to walk out without any type of promissory note, without any type of surety or anything else. The police chief, and it states it here on our bond, was able to walk out of here on a felony murder charge simply by a signature bond. And he was just turned loose to go back out and do whatever he wanted to do. And that is concerning of how this happened. The only way an individual post bond at our jail is I have to approve any and all bonds. So this was all done without my knowledge, outside the realm of the sheriff's department. And one thing I want to do is make clear that we did not have anything to do with this individual being turned out, nor did any judge. This was solely the responsibility of the police department there at Verona. While he was out on bond, a few months later, Mr. Betts commits another felony act where he is charged with aggravated assault and a drive-by shooting. He is arrested again by the Verona Police Department. At that time, he is taken, as protocol shows, and the paper trail will show it, he does go before Judge Holland in Justice Court. The concerning factor about that is, what should have been done at that point is the previous charge of murder and him being out on bond should have been brought to the attention of the court, because the judge at that time and the district attorney's office could have been involved in petitioning the court to hold this individual without bond until court, and that was not done. There was no knowledge. We've talked to the judge. There was no knowledge of Judge Holland about any of this prior murder charge, and she simply thought that it was an aggravated assault. She sets a bond of $50,000, which is completely normal, and the individual is allowed to make bond again, and he's out on the free world. And then a few months later, he has now committed this act in the county. So it was definitely a drop in responsibility of how a case was handled. The very mere fact that somebody's able to just sign a bond without any promissory note, without any land being put up, without any money being put up, at age 17, and you can just walk out on a murder charge is disturbing, and this is what the results are. And
welcome to criminal justice reform.
Lawsuit argues that drivers who are poor face discrimination by Oregon's Department of Motor Vehicles. The lawsuit has to do with the suspension of driver's licenses for unpaid traffic debt like speeding tickets. Lawyers for the Oregon Law Center say in the class action suit that drivers who can't afford to pay on time face additional fees and fines, making it even harder to pay off the debt. Eventually, DMV suspends their licenses because of the unpaid fines. The lawsuit is similar to ones that have been filed in Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Michigan, and Montana. Last year, California stopped suspending driver's licenses due to unpaid debts. The Oregon Law Center wouldn't speak to us about the case. ODOT, which oversees the DMV and was also named as a defendant, said it couldn't comment on the pending suit.
But wait, there's more.
Hello, and a very happy new year to you all. The racial and ethnic identities of so-called minorities have long been weaponized against Europeans in the West. We have been commanded to respect diversity, to honor the cultures of others in our own countries, and of course to feel a sense of shame when celebrating our own identity as Europeans. This is because the globalists that rule over us know that a majority host culture that is proud leaves no room and has no need for the dangers and strife brought by multiculturalism. Any people with a secure sense of self would simply expel from its territory those who wish to destabilize its society. So they have created a moral and cultural vacuum in the West in order that multiculturalism can fundamentally transform it.